we want to look at what each of the object relations are doing with the sexual instinct, see if we can land on something across the board for all three attachment types, frustration types, and rejection types.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking of like 8, 5, and 2. Okay, so sexual leverage and sexual potency.
Mhm.
And what it feels like to me that when you think about sexual instinct or polarity in terms of leverage, people sometimes think that that means that, oh, I need to find someone who needs me. And from the perspective of the sexual instinct, is that I need to find someone who is reacting in a disproportionate way. And I'm also reacting in a disproportionate way to the chemistry that we have. So the chemistry that we have has created almost like a new category, a self-contained category of, wow, I've never experienced this before, for me and for my partner
Mhm,
or the
mhm,
person that I'm in it with. And so in the body center, it's like there's an experience that we're both having, that our combination has created such a polarity that I've never felt before and she's never felt before. And it's like you can go be into somebody else, or maybe this doesn't work out, but it will never be this. This has
Mm-hmm.
created its own sort of self-contained experience
Mm-hmm.
where there's a clear before and after of what our chemistry and our polarity and our sexual tension is created. And for 5, it seems like, the chemistry is sort of its own island where
mhm,
through this portal we are experiencing the chemistry. And so there's always with the rejection types, a way of trying to contain the chemistry where it becomes its own separate thing, where 2 is giving you
mhm.
gaze in a way that it's just me and you now. You can't go anywhere to find this. Like it's its own thing. And so it always feels like grabby
Possession
and
might be a good word. Possession.
what yes, possession.
Possession
It's
might be, yeah,
very possessive. I
yeah,
mean, possession for all 3 of
yeah.
the rejection types.
Right.
Yeah, right. And they're each doing it in their way. Like eight's possessing with like beingness in the sense of like
Hmm.
I have your whole whatever. 2 is, as we saw in this week's video, is doing it through like emotional content. You need me and I provide something for you and you can't find this anywhere else. 5, they're a withdrawn type, so it's a little bit different, but it still is the sense of it's a sense of possession. It's just not going to necessarily feel connected to anybody with the
Right.
5, but it's the sense of like we have this very heady thing like that creates chemistry, and that's a single pathway to a single place, a single island where we can meet, and it's only for us and nobody else can
Right.
get on that
If,
island,
if,
and you won't be able. That's why 5s too, it's an ultra specificity of the head center. It's like whatever I'm giving you, quite literally, you will not be able to find anywhere else
and
because
that
nobody
Right.
else
and
has
that's the
this.
possession. That's the possession. Is
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
only this one
the
track,
head. Yeah,
right?
this
And
Right.
nobody
head
else.
path.
You're not going to find this track anywhere
It's
else with anybody.
orientation, right? Like
Hmm.
possessing this particular orientation to the
Orientation,
world
There you
yes.
go.
and the way
That's
that
good.
we
Yep.
orient to our chemistry. Yeah, right.
Right.
And then with attachment type, it feels like each of them is plugging in, or it's like this ability to sponge in and plug into the other person. Like, so 6 is getting inside your head, or you're getting inside the 6's head.
Mhm.
And 3 is like grabbing, like not grabbing, but in communication with what you value or your attention,
Mhm.
and trying to dance with that. And 9 is sort of like, oh, fuck, what is 9 doing?
It's the positions factor. It's I
Hmm.
can again plug into your sense of what you need in such a way that like I am literally becoming the essence of what you need. If what you
Right.
need is for me to be super dominant, I did it. I already
Yeah.
sensed it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
It's
that's attachment. I mean, it's morphing, and it's more hooking more universally. It's less a
yeah.
specific line. It's got more sort of universal appeal in
Right.
terms of the sexual
These
hooks.
are the things people like.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm going to do it really well.
Or these are the things that turn people on. I mean, if we're
Mm-hmm.
talking
Hmm.
sexual, yeah.
People, not,
People,
yeah.
people,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
everybody. Yeah.
And I guess it's what the sexual attachment types are doing. They're really adaptive, like, because they don't, like, for example, you saw with 2, she had her agenda, eights have their agenda, fives have,
Yeah.
even the frustration types have their track where it feels like the attachment types can go whichever way the dynamic is going.
Right.
Like the nines are able to penetrate, I'm going to come after you, and then, oh, who did that? I didn't mean to do that. And there's this way that whatever needs to happen, they're going to be able to adapt to it.
Yeah.
It's much easier to be attracted to those types. With
Mhm.
hexad, the more hexad you have, it's just kind of like it's either this or it's nothing.
And
Right.
then on the other side, for attachment types, they can often be attracted to more types of people also
Hmm.
because they're
Well,
True.
less solidified in their
That's yeah,
position. Yeah.
yeah,
well, I guess with sexual and attachment, it's like you said with Madonna. I don't know if she's really into this. I
Yeah.
don't know if
yeah,
she's really,
yeah.
Yeah.
and you can say that about all the attachment types because it's
It's
like
working
Sure.
for
I want to
everybody,
get
but
Sure.
to some degree, but I think more so with attachment where it's like I want to get the attachment first,
Yeah.
and then maybe later on we can see if
Yeah.
finding my own location with this. Whereas I think the hexat types, well, now I don't want to say that hexat types don't do this because we all do this to some degree, but there's much more of a fixed location
yeah.
um initially,
And
you know.
then you can, yeah. It's almost like, this is a crappy metaphor, I guess, but like I think if sexual is like a sort of chemistry and electricity, like when you plug something in and there's an
Yes.
instant zzz, and
Hmm.
you know like hexad types are like some particular plug that's only used in like a country that like you can't plug
Hmm.
anything into, and like attachment
Yeah.
types are like one of those multi
Universal.
adapters. Yeah,
Yeah,
universal.
Right.
right,
Like
right,
There you
there's a plug for every type of jack. You know that it's going to plug
right.
in and instantly work.
There's
That's
also
a very good
something.
analogy.
Yeah. There's also something. I don't know how to articulate it exactly, but the thing we've talked about with attachment, where part of attachment is wanting to keep making making a problem with the attachment so that you have to
Yes,
keep doing
attachment
the
to
work of
disconnect.
attaching. And
Hmm.
then when
Yeah,
you combine that with the
very true.
sexual instinct, that sort of almost amplifies that in a way where it gets more, I don't know. I mean, like for me, often I've said when you add, say, sexual to the first or second instinct with a nine,
Hmm.
um, they're often more like cheeky or sassy
Right.
nines or whatever, right? They're more willing to sort of poke at you and so forth. And so it's sort of so that you're creating some tenuousness about the attachment. And so
Right.
then the
Yes,
other person has to do something chemically, internally, or whatever to show their position or something. Yeah.
that's a
And
good point.
also like playing into the wound of attachment.
Yeah.
Like you're doing, yes, you're this multi adapter, but also can anyone like where's like you're hoping
Yeah.
again with that counter type, you're like hoping that this person will find that singular hook that doesn't
Hmm.
make you just a multi adapter, so to speak,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
is this person going to hone in and properly see
Yeah.
where I really am? I can't even see it. Will they?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, that's a good point. Like for example, with six, it's pretty obvious that they're always sort of trying to provoke a problem so that we can reattach to each other. And
Hmm.
so, from the perspective of the sexual instinct, trying to create a polarity, because sixes already has a polarity, but with the sexual instinct, is trying to create a chemical polarity so that we can um, stay attached to each other and stay hooked into each other from an attraction point of view. Um, and I guess
And
with
not
nine, you get the
they're not giving
triangulation
you
thing.
right. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You get the nine where you get the triangulation thing because I
Right.
guess if you have some level of triangulation that gets sexual attachment going, you're gonna have to. I mean, it's kind of a soup too. Like there's a way that,
Right.
yeah, that's an interesting thing with
Yeah.
attachment.
Well, that could be, I mean, partly with nine, the triangulation thing is probably multiple things, but one is like if the nine is in some way expressing or making it clear that they're being pulled in another direction
Hmm.
by somebody else, then that makes you need to express where you're at. And so the nine doesn't have to do the talking,
Yeah.
the expressing,
Yeah.
the
Mm.
coming out of the
You
withdrawal,
pull
you
me.
know.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you want this, then take
Yeah,
me
you
over
have to do
there.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. But then
Mm.
also, particularly, again, playing into that wound of like, well, I didn't give you a lot of information and I made you try to figure it out and you didn't get it right. You didn't see me.
Yes. Right. Right.
So it's forcing the other person to do the thing that the 9 is avoiding to do,
That's right.
which is show their
Claiming a
location.
position. Yeah.
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 There you go. Yeah.
Actually,
And
yeah, and
then
I keep thinking about what Alexandra said on our Princess Court episode where she was talking about how attachment types, like hexad, we were talking about that. There was a fight between a 7 and a 9, and the 9 was saying, you already had your location last time. It's my turn to have a location, and you're not just handing it to me.
Oh, yeah.
So
Right.
it's like this way that, like, for a hexad, what we didn't talk about frustration yet, but for rejection, it's like my location is here. We don't take like this is, I don't know, there's no other way to do this. I guess
Yeah.
maybe I can adapt to you, but you're still going to know that I'm adapting. But whereas attachment is saying, I've been this sexual adapter for how long? When is it my turn? When are you going to look at me and see, my location and let me kind of have it, but I'm not going to give you that information or tell you what it is, or I might drop hints
yeah.
and then withdraw because you didn't, yeah.
One way to say what you're saying there is there's like a fairness superego.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I'm adapting and attachment types imagine that everybody's adapting because
Yeah.
attachment types imagine
Yeah.
sameness everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it to be fair, you should be adapting too.
Right.
And I just adapted. Yeah. And so it's this fairness superego weird deal.
No, I'm noticing how that was coming across from Madonna, where she wasn't really giving much. So she's presenting herself as this sort of like gaze object, and she's not giving up a location. So she's inviting the other person to adapt to the display.
Yes.
And that's an
True.
interesting, it's almost like the display is creating a little bit of a disconnect so that the other person can then adapt and get hooked in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And also, again, it's what you're the attachment display is saying, here's what works for everybody, but can you find me? Because that's what sexual is saying.
Right.
Like, I'm somewhere in this soup and I'm all of these
Yeah.
things, but can you be the one to, like, you know what I mean?
Right,
Fork
right.
in, needle in, whatever on that thing that's me. And that's that playing into that attachment wound with sexual. It's like, I'm attracting with
Yeah.
everything everybody likes, but where am I? And can,
Like
That's
with
why
6,
attachment
it's like,
types identify as fours, right? Because they think
right.
4 is about having a problem with your own identity or whatever.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could say like, okay, 3 is doing like the model display, but can you find the real me in this, fluff that I'm giving you? And then 6 is giving sort of like this problem or fighting, provoking
Mhm.
kind of person who's always creating this kind of drama, but they want you to find the core of them amidst all that. And 9 is sort of this hazy, I'm not giving you any location.
Different
I'm
landscapes.
not I'm unsure about my position, but can you see my position amidst all this haziness
Right.
Yeah.
in the view of chemistry and
Yep.
polarity?
Yep.
Okay, so
interesting. What-
frustration.
Yeah. Frustration.
Yeah, I mean, with frustration, it is a lot of like very particular push and pull that because that's what frustration is. It's like, I want this, but fuck, it's just not good enough. It's not right in
Right,
some way,
right.
right? One is like, can you break through all these fucking rules that I have? Like, I'm not really going to let them go, but I really want to, and I really want you to somewhere psychologically. 4 is like, I can't stand you, and I can't stand anything about this whole game we're playing, but maybe you can not be shit and like convince me that you deserve whatever, my attention. And 7 is like, oh my God, I'm so excited about you and I love this, but like, God, there's like, I'm bored already. Like, there's something over there, or like you didn't entertain me enough. I guess that's your fault. Like, I'm going to go.
There's always, especially with 7, it feels like the shoe's going to drop. The other shoe's going to drop. And this
Yeah.
overwhelming positive fantasy is going to flip to the other side of everything's wrong with it. And you see that with a lot of 7s where there's this shadow of unaddressed negativity. So it feels
Right.
like, yeah, like you're saying, frustration is like the opposite sides of that coin of I want it, but I don't. And how that's the polarity, I guess, of frustration is I'm in, but I don't like it. I like it, but
Yes,
I
exactly. And it's
Right.
your fault because it's not
Your fault.
frustration with self, really. Like, 1 is like, we could just fix this. And 4 is like, you're nothing. And 7's like, you're boring, or like, I found something else. Like, it's not my fault. Like, I'm just being me. I'm just doing what everybody does. And like, I have to go do this, I don't know. So
it's also kind of an attachment to being frustrated. Like you
Hmm.
have to find you're most attracted to someone who provides a safe level of frustration.
That's it. Yeah,
True.
yeah.
Yep.
There has to
So,
be some, but it has to be a safe level or it's not going to work.
so
Yeah.
like the four actually needs to be attracted to someone that's gives them a safe outlet for their hatred. Like
Yep.
I'm into you, but I kind of don't like you, and
Yep.
that's
Yeah. That's it. You need somebody that is, and I see this with all, I mean, all ones, fours, and sevens that I know often date nines. And I see, like, well, I mean, sevens kind of can go all over the place, but you just need somebody who is kind of comfortable just being like, mm-hmm, you're doing that thing, like you hate this or you hate
Right.
that or whatever. Like, that's not really a big problem. Like, I'm not taking it in that much. Like you can
Mhm.
just do your thing and I'll calm you down or I'll just like absorb it and then it goes away and you're like, okay, it's just gone now, you know?
Yeah.
There's also maybe something to be said with sexual as the androgyny of sexual, specifically the feminine side of it, which
Mhm.
is so like, I don't know, if frustration types and even rejection types are sort of having this one track agenda. At the
Yeah.
same time, part of the problem with sexual dominance in those types is that they've got an opening to sort of being taken off
Right.
the agenda to some degree
That's
or
it.
Yeah.
transformed or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I wonder if it's if the sexual of the sexual hexad types
Hmm.
have some more extreme difference from the other, instinct combinations, just because if
Could be.
if you're self-pressed for or social for it, I feel like you have more boundaries to keep people away, whereas sexual is
Yep.
such an intermixing thing that there's more of, I mean, I experienced this as an eight, that there's more of a risk
Yep.
because with sexual, that is complete total energetic
Yeah.
surrender.
Yeah.
Well,
And
especially in
so
the case of a body type, right?
Yeah.
right.
It's your whole being, that feels the threat of being taken
Hmm.
or something
You're
like that. Yeah.
surrendering to your own personality structure, which
Yeah.
is a
Right.
threat to you and your personality structure because you are your personality structure. Like it's not something you
Right.
just kind of like stop doing. Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So for eight, for example, when you realize that you've done all of this stuff that actually was more surrender than you were even comfortable with, and in the next moment, that hurts you,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
I know for me, there are a lot of times where in these situations I do something and feel wild disgust after and be like, what did I? And I'm not talking
Yeah.
about like
Mhm.
even sexual things. I'm just talking like, I don't know, even like anything in life where you're just like, I like totally just
Mhm.
jumped into that and surrendered to that. And I'm like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
Right.
why didn't I feel disgust in that moment? You know, because you didn't want, like, you wanted to let it break through.
Yeah. It's this thing of wanting it to break through, but knowing how much it's going to
Mhm.
cost you. So it's like you really want to make sure that it's up to par, like the
Yeah,
four of like, I'm going to put you through the ringer. Eights
that's
are going
it.
to like
Get naked, go
really,
in the lake.
you know,
Yeah,
put you through the gauntlet to see if you're worth the sort of like, I'm going to have to move off my position to integrate you.
that's
Mhm.
it.
So it's not it's trying to avoid adapting as much as possible, but knowing that sexual is like the ultimate ultimate flip of your personality
Yeah.
structure. So it's like
Right.
this has to be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
This, you have to be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.